Welcome to another AriasWave update. So if you remember, not long ago I posted a chart which basically said that the DOW is now in the C wave. So that's very interesting how that sort of correlates with how I expect XLM to move, right? Now, not exactly, but impulsive moves happen at certain times. And if we're looking for a top, because realistically, XLM going to its target, whatever that may be, whether it's 160, depending where that B wave ends, it's going to be correlated with a massive blow off top in all markets, right? And I expect the Dow Jones to top out in this D wave around the 40,000 area. Okay, it could be a little bit higher. I took another measurement and it's just a little bit above 40,000. But the target here is around 40,000, just to be safe, right? Now, I did have a short idea which initially got you in around 31,000, around the green line. But then I realized that this was potentially still a D wave within the B wave, not the. So obviously we're dealing with fractal patterns here. So you have a D wave within a D wave. So getting those confused is not a hard thing to do. But you can revise, and in this kind of upward trend, you can just see how shallow the corrections are getting because we're heading for that top, right? We're heading for that blow off top. So what comes next after D? Well, let's cross that bridge when we get there. If you would have seen my GFC 2.0 video, you would know what that's all about. So when I did put this idea out, I have left everything intact. Let's go to the 1 hour chart just to see exactly what happened from that level. Okay. So, I did probably put the idea out around the highs here. And then we saw a pullback and it didn't make a new low. Bounced straight back, flirted with the midpoint of the channel, which is basically an AriasWave channel that was used to basically try and, well, it's kind of like this, right? You measure from the start of the A wave in brackets of the D, and you take it to the E, right? So you draw it from the start of the A in brackets to the end end of B wave in brackets, all right? And then this becomes significant. So as you can see, we have been flirting with that midpoint of that channel as we speak. So what I'm trying to say here is that once this thing goes further up and sideways and produces the rest of its patterns that it has to produce, most likely this will go straight up. Now, have we seen a 1-2 already? I believe that we have seen the 1-2 already, and we're about to start heading into wave 3. So unless this is something else which hasn't been fully explained, there is one clue that there could be a potentially different thing going on here. Okay, and I'll explain to you what that could be. Right? Okay, so basically we had the 1, the 2, and then we had another move up, which looks like a 3, a 4, and a 5. Right? Now, this could be potentially the whole 5, or it may be part of another correction, which is currently going on. So let's just say, for example, this is 1, this is 2, this is 3, up until about there. So you'd have to basically measure to see if that three would be longer than that 1. And then what could potentially be happening here is an expanded wave 4 within wave 3. So you have a 3, 3, 5, and then potentially there's a 3 and a 5 coming. But not necessarily the way I am illustrating it. So potentially we could be in a 1, 2, 1, 2 pattern. Okay. So taking that back one more step, let's try and label it. If this is the way that it could be, then what would the waves look like? How would we label those waves? Okay. So let's just say, for example, we use blue for the main 5-wave move. Okay, and then we use green for the 3rd wave moves, right? So let's just say this is a 1, 2, 1, 2. So because wave 2 was short and sharp, and I have in previous videos, that's how I got you long on this position, was because the internals here revealed one of those key pieces of evidence that I use to determine when to get into a market. So because we had a short and sharp wave 2, it could be potentially possible that this is wave 1 of wave 3 going on right here. Okay, and then what is happening is that wave 2 is expanding and hasn't ended yet, which to me would add even more credence to the sort of pattern that we're looking at in XLM as it prepares to launch to the upside in this move. Okay, so what we would be seeing here would be A, B, right, B. Now, so for this particular scenario, we need to get rid of the idea that this is an E wave, okay? This basically takes us back a step and assumes that the D wave did end back here, like so. And just to sort of illustrate a point here, let's just ignore that for now, because I don't want to make this video too complex, but I will touch back on it in just a sec. Okay, just give me a moment. So let's just say this is a 5-wave move to the upside that's going to go to 40,000, right? How would I label that? Okay, so that's the key component here, is to understand the waves in a way that makes sense and no rule is broken. So what I can see here is potentially an A, B, C, right? And now this, what we're seeing, is a D. So basically, even though this might not go below the start of the end of C, there is no rule saying that it can't. So this is on you to make your decision. All right, I give you ideas, but I also encourage you to learn the waves. Okay, just because I see a 5-wave move and I say, okay, let's go up. With this particular market, we've had a lot of troubles in the past getting the count right because of the complex nature of the pattern. Okay, so what we could be seeing here is the D wave in progress. Okay, we'll use blue for D. And then we'll get our E for the end of the expanded wave 2 of wave 3. Okay, so we'll get our wave 2. And that's when we'll start shooting up, straight up. So interestingly enough, this is sort of in line with the XLM chart. So going back to the daily, let's just go back for a moment and just reassess the situation here. So the thing about this pattern here is that the part that I found the most hardest to determine was this part here. Okay, is this a 3-wave move, right? Or is it a 3-3-5 and then we have a 3-5 where B wave ended here? Okay, so this is where I suppose it takes a lot of practice and you got to use your logic. That quite simply put, this could have been the end of C wave, of the D wave. Okay. So I know a lot of people say that I change my mind a lot, but the waves are hard. You should learn them yourself and then you tell me how hard they are. Okay. So if that was, so we're using size 16 for D. That was the D, the actual D of the larger. Let's make this bigger so we can give you perspective here. If that was the end of the larger B wave, oops, then that means that was the D. As originally I did this was my original idea. I did change it slightly, but I go back and forth a little bit. I do encourage you to do your own wave analysis and research. But if this is the case, then this was not an expanded zigzag. This was just a large wave D, right? Which it did expand the B wave, but the D wave itself was not expanded. It expanded the larger B wave, if you understand what I'm trying to say. So that was expanded, but that wasn't. Sorry, that was expanded, but this wasn't. You get me? Because we're looking at fractal patterns here. So I'm just trying to give you some perspective here as to understand why I would say that this is happening right now. Okay, so what this could potentially mean, right, is that, in my opinion, right, what we could be seeing here for the DOW is that, okay, we have alternation going on. So we have a sharp wave 2, but in wave 3 we have a sideways wave 2. So what I potentially see happening here is once that D and E completes to complete wave 2, we'll see a sharp move up for 3, a sharp move down that will give people the impression that it has topped already, but yet it'll be a sharp correction, right? Whatever waves contains in there, they'll be there, and then basically it'll finish off the wave 3, and then basically that'll be the end of wave 3. Okay, so just giving you some perspective here. Okay, so we're using the larger C there, just for perspective. So that's the larger C wave in brackets there. So that's the end. This would be the last 5-wave move of what started down here as the first A wave. So we'd measure typically that size and get that size from the end of B. But that doesn't mean that C wave can't be longer. Okay, at minimum, it's the same size as A wave in brackets. But as you can see, we're starting to see something expand. So that's what that could potentially mean. So that could mean that it will retest the channel before completing wave 3, but then, right, sorry, 1 second, sorry, my mistake. Wave 3, that's what I meant. Wave 3 would be right there, sorry. So that would mean wave 4, sorry, 1 second, bear with me. Wave 4 of wave 3 would be sharp. And then you get your wave 5. Okay. Now remember, back down here, we have a sharp wave 2. Okay. Now, this is just illustration purposes. Let's not get too crazy about the exactness of what I'm drawing here. I'm trying to illustrate a point. I'm not giving you times. This could go out to October, November, December. We don't know. And this is the whole point of what I'm trying to say. Okay. So once you get this wave 3, which is completed, right? Which that will be the main wave 3. You get me? Fractal patterns. Because wave 2 was short and sharp, wave 4 should be the opposite. Due to alternation, you should see it expand within this area, right? Like this, before finally topping out in wave, so creating the wave 4, which is drawn out sideways, and then finally the wave 5. Okay, so we're using a bunch of stuff here to understand what's going on. We're using targets, we're using channels, we're using alternation, we're using measurements of A in brackets to C in brackets, where we're understanding that C wave can be longer, can be more drawn out, but the point is here that this is a D wave, so it will terminate around this area. Okay, so that's the point I'm trying to make. I'm trying to give you the perspective you need. So even though this idea may not stop you out if you did go long, be aware that there may be a dip, which may not even come back down below the end of wave C, but you should be aware. And that's why I encourage you to learn the waves, right? Because technically there is no rule saying that wave E cannot go below the end of wave C. There's no rule, okay? I'm not saying it's going to happen because obviously there's a lot of strength in the market and it's in a wave 3, right? But these are the sorts of things that you need to be aware of when you learn AriasWave and when you're a trader. That you need to use every single thing that you have in your tool belt to determine what you're actually looking at. I'm trying to give you the perspective. If you cannot see it yourself, learn the waves. Otherwise, keep following my videos, going over them with a fine-tooth comb, seeing what happens later, and then sort of realizing how accurate it is for yourself. If you think it's not accurate, don't watch my channel. If you think it's accurate, well, maybe there's something behind it, right? But you just trying to judge something that you know nothing about, that's just ridiculous and pointless and probably won't get you anywhere because you're too busy forming negative emotions rather than positive ones that will lead you in the right direction. So hopefully you found this video interesting and informative. Thank you for watching.